everyone. Happy Friday. It is August 5th of 2022. I am so excited today because we have a very special guest. We have Holly who's come back because today is her 2-year Surgiversary. So we thought it would be fun to just kind of celebrate it together and reflect on the last 2 years and just shoot the shit about bariatrics. Before I bring her on, I just want to remind you guys that this show is being brought to you by 3knuckleheads.com to get all of your Comic-Con needs and your Loungefly bags. You guys have seen the bags that I have. They're absolutely amazing. And if you go to 3knuckleheads.com and use the coupon code Unzipped, you will get 10% off your order. So on that note, I'm so excited because Holly and I have so much to talk about. Oh my God, see, I am like a hot mess because I'm really excited. I can see her laughing at me really hard right now. So Holly, I hope you're ready because we're about to get unzipped. We all have a story on how we got here, right? So for me, I used to be over 350 pounds until one day I made the single decision that I wanted change. Weight loss surgery has saved my life, and now I am here for you. I want to hear your story.
You know, the one that happened during that before and after picture? It's time to unzip. What's your story?
Hello, how are you?
I am so good and so happy to be here.
I'm such a nerd. I got totally tongue-tied, and then I made the mistake of looking at your little screen, and that just fumbled me up. But we are here. How are you today?
I am so great. It's a beautiful day outside. My kids are getting ready for school. I'm great. It's great.
I love it. First and foremost, happy 2-year Surgiversary, and congrats.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
Oh my gosh, like I can't even believe it's been 2 years. It's crazy to think it's been 2 years already. It's amazing.
How long does it feel like? Because I feel like some days it feels like a couple months ago, and then sometimes it feels like longer.
Yeah, that is so true. Sometimes it feels like it's been a lifetime ago. Like I really feel like I have a completely different life. So it feels like a whole different lifetime ago. But then sometimes I'm like, am I really being this dumb? And did I not learn my lesson 2 years ago? And am I just learning it now? So sometimes it does. It feels like it's just been a couple months. And sometimes it feels like it's a whole life ago.
I totally agree. So my Surgiversary is going to be next month in September, and it's like 8 years. And there's times where I swear to God, it feels like just a year ago. I'm sleeping on the recliner, wondering what the hell have I done to myself? Am I going to make it through? And then there's some things that show up like on a time hopper, like on your memories of like a photo of you, and you're like, that literally seems like 20 years ago. It's such a trip.
Yeah, that time is so weird. Well, and then I think no matter where you are in your journey, having that pandemic in the middle of it, like I did mine during the pandemic, so it felt very surreal. It didn't feel like life at all was going on. But then to have like in the middle of your journey somewhere, whether you had it before or whatnot, just feels completely different, I'm sure. But yeah.
And I do think that there's a lot of truth to that, because when the pandemic hit, I remember for the first couple of days of just sitting at home and you couldn't go to work and you're binging Netflix, and then all of a sudden, I think I went to the fridge like 4 or 5 times in the course of a couple of hours, and I'm like, this is 100% not healthy. And I could totally see how people can fall back into old patterns so quickly. So I ended up calling my sister-in-law who worked at a Walgreens, and I'm like, hey, are there any positions open? Because I cannot be in the house every single day. I will send me out into the pandemic world. I will work a register, but the idea of going back to where I was so terrifying. I'm like, screw this. So yeah, it's so crazy. So I'm so excited that you wanted to share your special day with me today.
I'm glad thank you for having me. This is so great.
I'm so excited. And so I don't remember what the reasoning was, but I know that there was a significance about this date today.
Yeah. So it's interesting. My original date for surgery was April 6th. But because of the pandemic, we shut down, I think it was 9 days something between 7 and 9 days right before my surgery. And
Yeah.
then it was 7 days, no, 6 days when they actually canceled it. So they canceled it on April Fool's Day. And I'm
Oh,
like, are you kidding me? So, and April 6th actually has some fun days, like some fun significance to me in my life with my religion and some other things. So I was really disappointed that it wasn't happening on April 6th.
yeah.
So, you just let it go. But then August 5th happened. And I'm like, this is actually a bigger deal to me. So most people won't understand this, but so in my religion, there is this. So we have what's called the temple,
Mhm.
and you can choose to go or choose not to go. You have to work yourself there and commit to living a certain lifestyle and that kind of thing. And going to the temple is a very big deal, and you really commit to live. It's about living a beautiful life and changing as much as you can to being the most Christ-like or the best person you can be. I mean, with the understanding that you're going to have shortfalls and you're going to fail and you're going to do all of these things. And so there was this. It's a big, like I just said, it's a very big commitment. And when I went, it was life changing, not only to get there, but after that, it has changed every aspect of my life in such beautiful ways that I feel like I went through a transformation. And that day was August 5th. It was on August 5th, 1999. Think about that. Yeah, August 5th, 1999. August 5th, 1999. And so when it hit on August 5th, I cried because it was that moment of this is another celebration of change of my life, of me taking charge of who I am and being in charge of my own change and my own destiny. And it just fits so beautifully.
I absolutely love that. And actually, now that I realize that you didn't share that with me yet. So, like,
Mm-mm.
I have, and I don't remember because I think we're the same age. Were you class of 99 or were you class of 98?
Class of 98.
Okay, because I was
Am I
class.
a year older? Yeah.
You're a year older. I was class of 99.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I feel like we both just dated ourselves instead of
Oh, I know. I know. Don't count. I'll tell you, I'm 42. You can count. It's fine.
I can count. I'm turning 41 in like 2 weeks.
Congratulations. That's amazing. I love my 40s. My 40s are the best. They're fabulous. I
You
love
know,
it.
I was gonna ask you something because, and I just like because you and I are the same age. We're like this right in between Gen X and I don't like to say I am not a millennial, but
Millennial,
like
I know.
we're like in this zennial phase or whatever. Because I remember last time you were on the show, we were bonding over like trying to do clothes shopping in the '90s, and, like, the '90s grunge era and everything like that. But I'm curious, how did you feel about turning 30 versus turning 40?
I had no problem turning 30. I actually really enjoyed turning 30. I thought it was fine. But I really enjoyed turning 40 more than I did turning 30.
Really?
Yeah. And I really like I think at 40 I finally was like, screw all of you. I don't care. This is the year that I just say screw you and this
Yeah.
is my life. So,
I think like I probably had like a midlife crisis right before 30. But I think like in hindsight, I just wasn't in a very good place. I was at my heaviest weight. I was miserable. I'm like, this is not worth what 30 was supposed to be like. And I do say like I joke around about 41, but when I turned 40 last year, I was excited. I feel like because I was like the best version of myself, I had so much more energy at 30. And then like we kind of wish that we could have entered 30, like in this version of ourselves, but like I get it, we
yeah.
didn't. But
Well, so my birthday's in October and I had surgery in August and I will turn 43 here in a couple months. So I was heading into 40 with a whole like truly a new everything. I
yeah.
just had surgery. I was, doing all of these things and I was really on that path of this is me and I'm going to just be me.
And I absolutely love it. And I feel like this is going to be like the greatest decade ever of all of
Yeah.
them, like, so far. I'm so excited. So I'm curious to know, like, it's been 2 years now. Well, what I'm curious, what was the very first NSV that you can remember having?
Oh, okay. That one's easy. Crossing my legs.
Oh, 100%. Now,
Yeah.
were you consciously aware that you crossed the legs, or was it like you just happened to look down? And you're like, oh my god.
No, I was consciously aware because it was one that I was really looking forward to, was being able to comfortably cross my legs.
Okay.
And the because I love crossing my legs. It feels so good. It just is a lot
Yeah.
of relief. So I remember, I mean, I could cross my legs uncomfortably. And then it was like every day, I'm going to try, I'm going to try, I'm going to try. And then there was this one day where I crossed my legs and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it feels normal. And then, like when you can cross your legs and you can actually like wrap your other leg around, that I remember that happening and going, oh my gosh, did that just happen? And it was amazing. I even have a picture of it. I made my husband take a picture of it.
See, I absolutely love that because I remember the first time that I crossed the legs, I wasn't aware of it. I was sitting at work and I happened to look down and my legs just happened to be crossed. And you kind of like do like this double take. And I remember like taking a picture right then and there and sending it to my husband because I was so excited. Because I don't know like about you, but well, obviously we couldn't cross our legs, but I would have to like, if I was sitting at a table, I had to prop it up against like the leg post, like at a table booth or something like that. Because crossing my leg just felt more comfortable than just sitting like normally, but I
Yeah.
couldn't do it. So I always had to have it propped up against something and then my leg would fall asleep and then that would drive me crazy. And I'm like, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Um, so if in reflection over the last 2 years, what have been some of the NSVs that have really stood out to you?
Okay, so definitely crossing the legs. That was huge. So one of the things I was really looking forward to were collarbones. Look, I have collarbones.
Yeah.
I really wanted collarbones back, and I think collarbones are beautiful. No matter what they look like, whether there's weight on them or not, but I really wanted to see mine. And I do because I do a lot of performing in like strapless dresses or dresses that come out, and so just to have that beautiful collarbone, I should have worn a V-neck. But I love necklaces, so I bought this necklace and I wear it all the time, specifically because it sits right. I don't know if you can tell, but
Right in the
right in
center.
between. Yeah, because I'm like, I have collarbones. So that's a big one for me. I love because there have been so many parts of your body that you just hated looking at and hated, dressing or having. And so to say I love a portion of my body always just
Yeah.
felt so good. And so I love my collarbones.
And I do love that. And I think it needs to be a reminder too, because people have watched the show. I bitch a lot about my arms and specific body parts that I am no longer happy with because it's been like so much attention is now drawn on it because you've lost so much weight. But I totally forget about the collar. And I can see there's like a little collarbone right there.
Beautiful.
And I remember one of them that was huge that I didn't realize was seeing a hip bone. And I
Oh
was
my gosh.
and I was laying down and like that threw me off. And then literally a couple weeks ago, I had just gotten out of the pool and I've been being brave. I've been wearing like a 2-piece just to go my pool like across the way. Oh my god, stop it, arms. Um, and I went upstairs and I was changing and I saw a rib and it wasn't me like sucking in my gut and I was like, oh my god, is that a freaking rib? And I like took a picture. And I'm like, these are the little things that we get so excited over.
I remember the first time seeing my ribs and going, did I lose too much weight? Like,
Yeah.
is this okay that I can see my ribs? And my husband's like, no, you look fine. I'm like, I don't know. Now I'm concerned. But yeah, being able to see your ribs, laying down and being able to see a hip bone.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget like looking down at my legs and they looking so thin and
Mhm.
just like I have skinny legs. I carry all of my weight in my belly. So I always kind of felt like Tweedledee, Tweedledum,
Oh,
because I have these skinny legs. But I'm like, oh my gosh, it like starting to match. It was, yeah, it's crazy.
I
Yeah.
love that. So what are there any other NSVs that stood out for you?
Yeah, so being able to cross, so I'm very tall, right? 5'11", and being able to sit comfortably in an airplane, that's really big for anybody. But being able to sit comfortably at such a tall height was really big for me. And then I could cross my legs in the air, like in an airplane, which has been huge. And then so there's a couple more big ones. Um, oh, I got to think of that other one. I'll come back to it if it comes back
It's
to my
gonna come
brain.
back.
It'll come back. So one thing I always wanted to do was go zip lining. I have wanted to go ziplining forever, and you have to be a certain weight to be able to go ziplining. And I blew that weight out of the water. Yay. So I was super excited. So we were planning to go to like Costa Rica or Puerto Rico and go ziplining, and then pandemic stuff and blah, blah, blah. So we didn't go. So we just went on this massive vacation. We've been gone for 7 weeks this summer to lots of different places. And one of our very first stops was actually Niagara Falls. And my best friend was like, "Are you going to go zip lining?" I'm like, there's a zip line at Niagara Falls. What? And so she shared it with me, and I said, let's go. So there were 7 of us in total on this massive trip. My family, which is 4, and then my parents, and then my father-in-law. So that was 7. And I said, who wants to go? And 5 of the 7, we went, and we zip lined Niagara Falls. It was amazing. Here, I will show you this picture. There we are.
Oh my God.
So that's my teenage son, Isaac. He's almost 16. That guy is my father-in-law. That's me. That's my mom. And that's my daughter, Camilla, who is a freshman. She's the one at her thing. So, and then that's the Horseshoe Niagara Falls. And you pass by the other one. I can't remember what it's called on the way down. But we went ziplining, and we went twice. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Okay, so but was it scary?
No, like no, I'm not afraid of heights at all. Like not really at all. So like I have this really big goal to go skydiving. So I'm not afraid of heights. My husband, on the other case, is, but it really wasn't. So you're in this harness, and you actually sit in a harness. So it's not like the normal harnesses you see where they strap around your legs and your chest.
Right.
But it does that, but then it has a seat, an actual seat, and you're hooked on in two locations in the front and 1 location in the back, and then you have a safety on the back of that. So if everything fails, that one should not fail. And it took all of like 30 seconds. It wasn't long enough. Like we were trying to create as much drag as we possibly could so we could stay up there longer. It was glorious. It was glorious.
Okay, I feel like it would be like the most exhilarating, the most beautiful, like a world of just like emotions rushing through you. I just have the biggest fear of heights, and it will literally be like I remember when I was like over 200 pounds, I was probably like 23 or something like that. And we went to Magic Mountain, which is out here in California. And there was this ride, kind of like what you said, where you have this harness and then like your feet dangle. It's one of those little feet dangling rides. And so you're sitting there and your feet are all dangling, you have the harness on. And the ride starts with you going backwards and then like you go inverted like this. So you're kind of face first with the ground and you kind of sit there for a while. And the only thing protecting you from your impending doom is a harness over your boobs. And at the time, I was like probably a 48 triple D. I was a very large chested lady. And I was afraid to breathe because I kept having these visions of what if I breathed wrong and it popped open and then you plummet to your death. And these are the thoughts that you have literally in the course of 2 or 3 seconds before you hear the psh and the ride just like goes. I don't remember the psh sound, but I remember at some point I opened my eyes and the ride was over and there was tears. And I was like, I literally thought I was going to die. And to this day, I have not been on like very high roller coasters since. And it sucks because I feel like, okay, I'm not over 200 pounds anymore. I don't have these things, but it's so hard to overcome. Like, do you have any fears like that?
Yeah, so it's actually quite interesting. I mean, everybody has fear to one extent or another, and everybody, I believe, has a fear of something inside their body, whether it's about their body, like a fear of heights. What is your fear of? Your fear of is falling, right?
Yes.
So how it's going to impact your body, how
Yes.
you could die or be very injured.
Yes.
So it really comes down to what fear do you have regarding your body. And yeah, so I have lots of fears. I have a major fear of drowning, huge fear of drowning. So and I grew up on the water. So I have major fear of drowning, but I also have a major fear of swimming in dark waters. I can't swim in dark waters.
I know a couple
Um,
people who have the exact same fear.
yeah, so I had my best friend in high school. Her grandfather had a heart attack while driving and went over a bridge into the river in our town and died from drowning. That was the cause of death, not the heart attack. And so that was a big one. But like, I mean, I watched someone drown once, or actually, he had drowned, and my dad pulled him up from the bottom of the lake, and like life flight was called in. I think that was really the big one where I was like, and I can't swim in dark waters, and
Yeah.
I can't stand feeling fish like swim through my legs. I will never do like the pedicure with the fish. No, that will never happen.
I can't do that. It's
No,
so gross.
I can't do it.
No.
So like, and I mean, I grew up near the coast, but again, that's Washington coast, or even California coast. They're very harsh coasts, and
Yeah.
they're dark waters. So I can't like, yeah, there's a certain amount I can go into the shallows, and that's it. So, but I mean, I lived in Europe for a while, and that's all crystal clear water, and that was fine. I didn't have a problem swimming there. That was beautiful. You can see the fish, and they're scared of you.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to overcome one of my fears with swimming, and for my husband's birthday usually falls on Father's Day. So as a gift to him, I'm gifting him an experience now that like I physically want to do more experiences because I'm not so tired all the time.
Yeah.
The whole entire family, we are going to do scuba diving.
Very cool.
Yeah, so my husband loves scuba diving. He used to be certified years and years and years ago, and he's let it lapse. And I mean, I live in the desert. Where are we going to go scuba diving? Yeah, so he actually, one of his friends at work is a scuba instructor. So all four of us, we're going to have him certify us, and then there's lots of places here in town that have pools, so you can certify in pools. And
Okay.
then we have a place called Blue Hole out in Santa Rosa, and it's this massive blue hole lake, and it's completely clear. And so you do your final certification there. So we'll out there. And
So,
then the goal is to go somewhere and do something fun.
so you've never scuba dived before, or have you?
Never.
First time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I definitely, because that's something on my bucket list. I haven't done it yet.
Me neither. I'm so excited.
Yeah. There's no like scuba diving places here in Bakersfield, California. But like we haven't been on a vacation in, well, obviously over 8 years now. And so the last vacation was in Maui. And one of my bucket lists is I always wanted to swim with the dolphins, and I've always wanted to scuba dive. And my I remember the last time I went in Maui was the time that I broke a chair, like a lawn chair on the patio, and I was at my heaviest and I was miserable. And like even like going hiking, and like you're so out of breath and you can't do as much as everybody else. So one of my bucket lists is I really want to go back to Maui and have like a complete do-over and do all of the things that I missed out on because of insecurity or physical ability. And so I'm working on that. We haven't booked anything yet, but I'm working towards it. But the idea of scuba diving is like scary, but I think because it's controlled, I would, and you're not really going out too far, that I think it would definitely be manageable.
Well, and I think like one of the big things that I worry about, especially swimming in the ocean, is actually the shore, because the shoreline is the most turbulent.
Yes.
You go further out, and there's so much more control because it's like swimming in a lake at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
different currents and things, but you don't have the waves crashing in on the shore that will tumble you, and you have nothing to grab onto. So I think it'll be different.
Yeah, I think that's that. So, do you have plans to go skydiving?
No, I don't have any plans to go skydiving yet because my husband won't go with me and my kids were too young. So, um, I don't know if I can I bet my daughter would go with me. She's the girl who's going to someday own a Harley.
Then she'd probably be more inclined to do it.
Yeah, but I haven't decided yet.
Okay, well, if you do, then you need to come back and show me video. 'Cause
Okay, I totally will.
I need to live vicariously through you, and I can just handle my panic attack safely from the convenience of my couch.
Okay, so I'm going to share this with you. So the Lime scooter that I had you write
Oh,
down.
yes. I wrote down Lime Scooter.
Yeah, so Lime Scooter, if anybody knows what Lime Scooter is, it's actually done through what's the app where you it's a taxi. Why can't I think what it's called?
Uber?
Yeah, thank you. It's through Uber. And you can rent those little scooters, the electric scooters, and they have electric scooters and electric bikes, and they're green. So they're called Lime, and it's through Uber. So we were just recently in Salt Lake picking my kids up from a camp that they were doing up there. And my husband and I had the evening to ourselves. And because that's a whole long story. I flew in from Washington. He drove up from New Mexico. It was crazy. So we had one night together and we were gonna like walk up this hill. And he's like, let's just take the scooter. You want to do it? And I'm going, no, I'm gonna fall off. I'm gonna hurt myself. I'm gonna die. Like, I don't really want to go to the hospital. Like all of these things, all these anxieties of being on a stupid scooter, right? It's a scooter. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So we rented these little scooters and we were on them for maybe a minute and a half to go up the blocks, like 5 blocks. So it doesn't take long. And I like had the massive anxiety attack the whole time. Like I couldn't go fast enough and keep myself together. And then I had to like go across the street with cars and I'm like, I'm gonna die. And it
Yeah.
was so funny because it was a scooter. And I finally am like, okay, we're here. I'm done. Let's walk back to the hotel. He's like, you don't want to take another one? I'm like, maybe in a few more weeks or next time we go on a trip, we'll do this again. But I got to build this up. And it was so interesting because I felt like I tried to analyze why I was so scared of it. And it was just the lack of control and the lack of allowing my body to do what it's going to do and my mind not having control over my body. I know what to do. My body knows what to do, but I don't trust it.
And I think there's so much truth to that. And especially when you've lost all this weight, we don't know 100% what our bodies are capable of yet because we haven't done these things. And I know because we were talking about it, but I did like my first pole dancing class this,
Yeah.
and you know, like I said, it's been almost 8 years, and you sometimes still forget that you're not over 300 pounds. And she was trying to show me something. I was getting very frustrated. I almost just walked away from the class because the idea of potentially embarrassing myself got so overwhelming that I'm like, I'm just not ready for this. And so she had an idea of bringing out like these silk things to help, with the weight or being able to hold yourself up. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, how much is like, what's the weight limit? And she kind of looked at me because she didn't really know my story. And she goes, like hundreds of pounds. And I'm like, oh, I guess like I'm not over 300 pounds. But she wanted me to like do this move where you hang upside down. And I've never done that before. And like I have like, even though granted I understand I have a fear of heights and this wasn't very high. You're literally talking like 3 feet off the ground. Like if nothing's gonna happen if I fell. But I was like, I kept having flashbacks. There was a time when I was at the supermarket and I slipped on water and I fell in the aisle. And then a crowd comes because everybody wants to help you up, but you're 350 pounds and you're so afraid of somebody trying to help you up and then not being able to carry your weight that it was such a mortifying experience. And I was like, I never want to ever be in that place again. So when it came to this and the idea that like, what happens if I fall? And then this woman is so petite and tiny. I think she's maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. Like she's this tiny little. You're not going to be able to pick me up if I eat shit right now or fall. And it sucked that the fear of that like overcame just the ability to just try something new. But then once you try it and you're like, wait, my body can hold me up. My body can do these things. I just haven't given it a chance. Like being like almost like an overprotective mom
Mhm.
where it's like you don't want them to try this activity because you don't want them to get hurt. And sometimes like you have to kind of let them fly. And I'm so glad that I did. But do you still deal with fears like trying things right now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that getting me on that Lime bike was huge, was absolutely
Yeah,
huge. Like, so I just signed up for 3 operas and I mean, this is what I do. And I have every single one. I'm like, the first thing was fear of of what are the costumes going to be like? How is staging going to be? Do I have the stamina for it? Do I
yeah.
have this? Can I do that? How many people are in the cast? How many people are going to be in the dressing room backstage? Like, do I need to worry about how much space I take up? Because how often do I worry about my physical space? Like,
Hmm.
am I taking up too much space in the world? And that is something like no one, no matter your size, no matter what size you are, you never take up too much space in this world. There's enough space for everyone. And so it's so funny that I go back to that. Am I taking up too much physical space? And am I pushing people out? Or, oh, yeah, so many fears, so many.
This is fun. This is a question that has come up, and it caught me off guard at first. But do you still find yourself, because when you're at a certain weight and you take up X amount of space, like your hips and your boobs, do you still find yourself being like spatially aware, saying, "Oh, I'm not going to fit if I go this way," and then you're like, "Wait,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I can fit now."
Oh, all the time, all the time. Or like I will sometimes walk too far around something.
Yes,
And then that's hilarious because like I'll walk too far around something like to like pick something up and then I'll drop it because I should have been closer to the counter or should have been closer to somewhere else. And I'm like, oh. And then like sometimes feel like a puppy dog that has too big of feet still, like they're growing into them, where all of a sudden I'll like run into something because I'm trying to be like, oh, I know I'm a smaller size, so I can get closer. And I'm like, okay, too close.
right. You're like, I didn't think this through. Like I was talking with another guest one time where I was like you go in a parking lot and there's two cars, and you have to and you really have to gauge, like, I don't think I'm gonna fit, and like even if I go sideways and I do like this little, because of the way the mirrors are positioned, and then there's been times now where I'm in a parking lot and I'm still like turning my head sideways, and I'm like, I could have just
Just
I could have just walked right through. But it's like it's
yes.
ingrained in your head that, like, no, I'm not gonna fit. Like, you're just so used to it. And I feel like I don't know if that ever really goes away. I don't
I
hope so.
I hope it does. Like the more you do, the more it will. And just like you have to have this experience to undo the other experience, right? Like I need to do this to counteract that. But I don't know. Like it just is so ingrained in you. Yeah. Like it's so weird still, like to hold up a pair of pants and like there's no way I'm gonna fit these on my body. And then
Yes.
they go on, I'm like, oh, I probably need a smaller size. And you're like, no way. No way. It's weird. Yeah.
I remember one time in the very beginning, I think we were at a Kohl's or something like that, and Eric picked out a dress, and he didn't even look at the size. He just kind of like looked at me and picked the dress. I'm like, it's just not going to fit me. And he goes, no, I think it will. And I'm like, no, that shit's not going to fit me. And then he's like, just trust me. And like you go into the dressing room and it fits, and you're like, what is going on right now?
Mhm.
It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing.
So I'm curious. So looking back into the last 2 years in this whole journey that you've been on, what would you say would be like the most surprising element of everything, if anything? I just like to put people on the spot and make them uncomfortable as possible.
I'm not uncomfortable. I'm rarely uncomfortable. Um, that's a great question. The most surprising. Sometimes I feel like the most surprising is that I did it. Like that I accomplished this and like I just I'm just so proud of myself in accomplishing this and that it wasn't, I mean, it's hard. This is no cakewalk. This is
Yeah.
so difficult. But at the same time, looking back and being like, man, I just climbed Mount Everest is what this is. And I think, and it, I don't know, like, and I feel like maybe I did it with grace and maybe that's kind of shocking to me, but I don't know. My family would tell me that I always handle things with grace, but that
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. I'm kind of a jerk sometimes.
I
So
guess
I
are
don't
any
know.
of us like perfect all the time?
No. So I don't know. I'd have to think about that again. But yeah, I think sometimes it's like I actually did it
I like
and then I'm gonna continue doing this.
I think one of the most surprising things is how many things I can do now that I just never thought possible. And
Mhm.
I feel like you get to a certain point where, especially when you have those first few NSVs, like when you cross your legs for the first time, like even though to somebody that might seem so basic, but for us it means everything. And then when you accomplish it, it's almost like this tangible effect of this surgery is working because now I can do this. And then you kind of think, what else can I do? And then like you're like, okay, like I want to travel somewhere. I want an excuse to get on an airplane seat because now I want to test the theory. And then when that happens, you're like, okay, and you start small, but I feel like I'm purposely going out and actively looking for things to accomplish. Whereas before, you're just kind of existing through life. And if somebody comes up saying, hey, we're going to go do this, do you want to do it? And you're like, yeah, I'll try it. But now I just have this attitude of like, what's something I've never done before that now I can do? And I'm actively searching for more shit, which is just, I would have never done this kind of stuff before.
I think that you so beautifully said that, and I think we're saying you said exactly what I wanted to, because there's that moment of, oh my gosh, it worked. It
Yes.
actually worked, because how many times have we tried something and it didn't work? How many yo-yo things have we been on and lost 5 pounds and gained 25? And it's like, oh my gosh, it actually worked. And now, and just the lease on life again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said it beautifully.
Oh, well, thank you. Um, so do you think when you had just had the surgery, did you have like an idea of like what would be the moment that would have told you I made the right decision that this finally worked?
I wonder if anybody doesn't have that moment. And if they don't, bless them, because maybe they're in a better position. I don't know. So I did. So in my program, you do not set a goal weight at all. So you work on, we didn't talk about this last time because there's the 50-50, or the
Okay,
50%.
yeah.
Yeah, and so we don't worry about your actual weight itself. You worry about how much fat loss you had.
Okay.
So we have these fancy machines that we stand on. Some places have them, some places don't. And they actually like send these electrodes through your body, and it will tell you how much excess body weight you have, how much body weight you have, how much water, how much excess water, how much your bones weigh, how much your muscle mass is, your skin. Like it'll break it down to your left arm, your right arm, left arm, right arm, left leg, right leg, whatever. Your trunk. It tells you, like, it breaks it all down. And so yeah, it's so fascinating. So you work on how much. So here's your excess body weight and how much of that excess body weight you've lost. And so the goal, so an industry standard is 50% of your excess body weight
Okay.
is considered a success. 50% in 12 months is a success.
Okay.
So if you have 100 pounds to lose, 50 pounds in 12 months is an industry standard success.
Interesting. Okay.
And so if you had, let's say I had 100 and you had 200, your 50% would be 100, my 50% would be 50, and we would both be considered a success.
Right.
That's really important in understanding those things. So so our goal was to lose 80%. Like that's your, like, I don't even know if that's right, but their goal is 50, but it's like, okay, my goal really is like
Right.
80%. And so then I count back, like, okay, 50%, if I lose that much weight, how much my mass body weigh? So if I'm at 300 pounds, 50 pounds would be 250. And so then it's like, okay, there's my first goal, there's my next goal, there's my next goal. But then my doctor is still like, stop
Yeah.
counting, which they're right. They're absolutely right. So I got to a couple things. So my doctor, I had a bit of trauma with him because he's very clinical. Bless his heart. He's a fantastic surgeon, but his bedside manner, I wanted to slap him when he's like, I don't know if you'll ever get under 200 pounds. So I was 305 when I started, and he's like 50%. I don't know if you'll ever get under 200. You will be above average if you get under 200. And I'm like, well, my BMI tells me I need to be 160, 155. So I'm really concerned. And like, this is like the week after surgery, and I'm hysterical at this point.
Yeah.
So then I went and saw somebody else. I saw somebody else, and she's like, you're doing fine. You'll be fine, which was good. So my first goal was 200. If I could get under 200, I knew I had gotten to at least 50%, and I was an industry standard success. And I knew at that point I was a success. My goal, though, if I could get to 180, 185, then that was how much I weighed at my wedding. And I knew at that point it was like, this was absolutely worth everything if I get to 185. Anything other than that is cherry on top. And so when I got under 200, I didn't celebrate till I got to 190 because I was so scared that it wouldn't stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got to 185 and I didn't celebrate till I got to 178.
See, I'm totally about that. And I remember like which is funny that we both had a number in mind as like that was going to be the registration that this actually worked. But for me, it wasn't even like Wonderland. For me, my goal was, can I get to 287? Because the day of surgery I was 338, and every program prior to that, if I did paleo or whole 30 or Weight Watchers, I would get to 287. It would stay there for months. It would never drop below that, and then you bounce back up to over 300. So and even when I was on weight loss medication with the doctor, you get down to 287, and then that was like, that's it, you're done. So for me, I was like, if I could just get below 287, I wasn't thinking about Wonderland. I wasn't thinking about a single digit pant size. I'm like, if I can just get to 286, then I'm like, okay, there's a chance this might actually work.
Yeah.
And it was so sad that that was my. So Emily had written in and asked, where can she go to do that, like that body mass or body fat?
So if your surgeon doesn't have it, I think like GNC, I think some of those have them actually. Some of the health food stores like that. I don't know, depending on where you're at in the country, they have those. So I would call them and just ask, like call your surgeon, see if they have it. If not, then call around to your health food stores and say, hey, do you have one of these? Isn't it GNC? Isn't that what it's called? I
Yeah,
always
just
hear
like a supplement store.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
know that they have one. I know ours does here locally. Two of the locations do. And so the one thing with that, you'll probably have to pay to use it because they store your information.
Mhm.
So you take a readout or you go on to take a readout and then and you get that. And then the next time you go, it compares the two and puts them side by side. And so then you can see like you can track for, I think it's like 5 or 8 times you can track, and then you just have to look at them similar. So that's where I would try.
I kind of want to do that too because you know what's frustrating is I had been stalled for years until I did these challenges this year, and I finally broken the stall. And then yesterday morning, I weighed myself, and it was 168.0, which is the lowest I have ever been in my entire life. So I am on cloud like 9 million. However, comma, my app tells me I am overweight. And I'm like, you are a piece of garbage. And so, but then like I'm wondering, that's why I think something like this might be really interesting because things that you're not considering is excess skin or how much of it is muscle or how much of it is this or whatever. I'd be curious to know like what the actual fat percentage is right now.
Yeah, it's amazing because one of the things we really look at is how much muscle atrophy you have right after surgery, and then you can see how much muscle you gain because
Mhm.
that's why they say so often if you are stalled. Please measure yourself. Like you have to weigh yourself, but you have to measure yourself. Measuring is just as important because so often, and you'll hear this, well, I'm stalled, I'm stalled, but I fit into a smaller pant size. Well, it's because your muscle is bulking and you are shrinking, and muscle and fat weigh the same. Muscle is denser than fat, so fat is fluffier. So you might weigh the same, but you're shrinking because fat's going away, but you're bulking up somewhere else and you just can't see it. So that's why if you measure yourself all over, you will see how you are shrinking. And
Right.
it's a really cool thing. So yeah, super important. It's super cool to see. Oh my gosh, I gained 3 pounds of muscle. That's an
Yeah.
amazing. It's
Which is
so cool.
huge. And I hate when people say like muscle weighs more than fat. No, it doesn't. A pound of muscle is the same as a pound of fat. It just takes up more space. It's kind of
It's
like when they say
denser.
like 10 pounds of bricks versus 10 pounds of
The
feathers.
feathers.
Yeah, like you're gonna need a shit ton of feathers to make up that weight or whatever compared to the muscle. And so I remember like in the beginning, I think it was like around month 4 or 5 when it wasn't dropping as quickly and like it was starting to finally taper off and you start to get discouraged. But I had been taking measurements since day one. I took measurements once a month, And so there were times when the scale didn't move, but then I took measurements and you lost like 12 inches all around. And you're like, okay, so it's all about like perception and like not fixating on just a number on the scale, because you and I can be the same exact height and weight, but our bodies are still going to be shaped differently, or we're still going to carry it differently. So it should be more about, how we feel wearing clothes than like just what a number says.
Oh yeah, I think the BMI needs to be gotten rid of. Like the whole
100%.
index is just garbage,
Yeah.
especially for women. I mean men too, but we have boobs. I'm sorry, but we have boobs and I lost almost all of it. They're just gone now. And it's so sad to me, but I carry it somewhere else. Other people have it in their hips, other people have it at other places. And so to lose, like, why in the world did I lose my breasts first when instead of my belly, where everyone tells you you're belly fat, but I
Right.
lost all of my breasts and then my butt and then my legs and then my belly. I mean, it's like this whole the way they think about it is just so backwards.
Yeah. It's so annoying. Can we just get rid of it? Can we just like sign a petition and be like, F you, BMI? Like, you're not.
Oh yeah.
That stupid app keeps telling me that I'm overweight and I want to throw it out the window. I don't fix it because I know that I'm not like I'm doing shit I've never done before. I feel incredible. We all have problem areas, like, yes, but
Right.
in the
Well,
grand
that's why I love it, like, when people are like, "Stop looking at the numbers. Stop look," because the numbers don't matter. They
yeah,
really like, it's a good gauge, but they really don't matter. Like you said, how do you feel? Can you walk up 10 flights of stairs so you can go zip lining and
right.
feel good about it? Yeah, that was amazing. Then you're on the right track.
And when I first lost all the weight, the lowest I got down to at the time was 173. And
Hmm.
I was like I think I had gotten down to a size 10. I was never anything, but I was happy. I was like, I'm never been here before. If I don't lose anything more, I'm totally cool with that. But then when I had regain, and I had regained like 50 pounds back, and then it took me like 4 or 5 years to finally get it off. What was interesting is when I finally got down to 173 again this year, I was fitting like in a size 8, or like clothes were fitting differently. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But it's just a perfect example, even with ourselves. If you're building muscle, if you're toning, if you're doing all of these things, the number doesn't mean jack shit, because your body, because even though I gained all this, I lost the same amount, I lost it in different places this time. So now
Yeah.
I can put jeans over my thighs that I couldn't before, or your hips, and now you can see a hip bone or what. And I'm like, it doesn't, like, logically it doesn't make sense how this happens, but I just trust that, screw the scale, screw the numbers, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so when I had my consultation for skin removal surgery, the surgeon told me you will probably lose somewhere between 15 and 22 pounds of skin and fat because they'll do skin as well as liposuction. And he said, I will tell you right now, I'm going to have you put on weight after surgery. I'll have you gain weight because you will be too low. And if you continue to lose weight, then it will be not good, not healthy for you. So
Really?
it's the weirdest thing to walk out going, my surgeon just told me I have to gain weight.
That's
And I'm
almost
still
impossible.
and I'm still not even in my normal BMI range. I'm like 1.5 points out of my BMI range.
That's crazy. So you already had a consultation.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
do you think you're gonna do it, or are you still on the fence?
Yeah. No, I will definitely do it. It all comes down to timing and which surgeon I want. But yeah, I will absolutely do it. I even know which one I want. I'm just trying to decide if I want a belly button or not.
Okay, I'm so torn because people have asked that. I'm like, I understand there's no purpose for a belly button, but
Not
I
anymore.
feel like, I don't know. I just feel like I would feel very, very out of place to not have one.
Yeah, he told me I asked how many belly buttons does he not put in? And he said about 40 to 45% of people are not getting new belly buttons at all. They just go
Really?
without a belly button. Yeah, I'm like, that's high. It's like, yeah, he goes, I would say in the next 5 years, it'll probably shift to about 60% with no belly buttons.
No shit.
Mhm.
I haven't decided. So what are you thinking of doing?
So I will do a 360 lift. It's a full body lift and fleur de lis. It's a fleur de lis lift. Let's see if I can say this right. a 360 fleur-de-lis lift. So they will cut all the way around
Yes.
at the hip, and they will pull up and pull down. And then the fleur-de-lis is where they cut you in the center. So
Yeah.
then
Or
they
whatever.
yeah, so they pull this way and cut off this direction. So so you don't tent. So you'll actually, because if you have too much out, then you'll just tent and look like this. So
Yeah.
then do the fleur-de-lis pulls you in. So I will definitely do that. And that's surgery number one. I'll have to have 3 in total if I want everything done. So that is a first and foremost, absolutely, and we'll do it. And then they'll do liposuction as well with that. The next surgery after that will be a breast lift, and they will just lift. I don't want implants. I don't want anything like that. So they'll just lift and make them look normal again instead of like tube socks.
I compared to cow udders.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So I will do a breast lift, which makes it easier for everything. And then if I do the third one, which I'm on the fence about, is a Brazilian butt lift, a BBL, because I'm in so much pain because I have nothing back there any longer. That's where I
Yeah.
lost everything first. It is just seriously so painful. Like I have calluses on my tailbone because there's just nothing there. And so he will reserve fat in my back and in other places so that when the Brazilian butt lift happens, he will be able to suction that out, liposuction that out, and then stick it in the butt portion.
Yeah. I'm
So
so torn because I do want the tummy tuck. I've been so on the fence, but I'm leaning more towards it lately. But I really want my arms. I think if I can only choose one, I think the arms bother me more than anything because at least, even though I don't like it, I can hide the stomach and part of the
mhm.
thighs in certain clothing, or Spanx become your best friend. But I'm not wearing long sleeves in the middle of August. Like, I want to be able to be comfortable. And because I love dancing so much, I want to be able to fling my arms around and not have a delayed reaction with my triceps, every time I fling them out.
You've got these beautiful guns. You need to show them off.
No,
So
but
look at them.
it's just,
I know they're beautiful. So to get rid of that just would make you feel so good.
I think it would just make me feel like night and day. And like I know that we keep talking about it on the show late because I had somebody last week who was talking about like her plastic surgery experience, and then Emily, who's watching, we talked with her and she was telling us about it. And I know that deep down we need to be happy with who we are in our own skin. We need to love ourselves as is, and I do. But if there's a way to feel even better, because some things are outside our control, it doesn't matter how much we work out, some of these things are not going to get
Oh yeah.
fixed. But I would probably, arms would be number one. And then I'm torn about thighs or not. I heard that there's like a thigh lift you can do.
There is a thigh lift. There is a thigh lift. Yeah.
I'm torn.
I thought about it. So I have a little bit on my arms and a little bit on my thighs that I could get rid of, but yeah.
But stomach would be number one for you.
Yeah, so I'm actually having some medical issues and I don't know if I can get it covered. I've got to find the right doctor who will work with me because I have to get my muscles, my stomach muscles pulled back into place from after having kids and weighing so much. My stomach muscles are completely out of place, but I am to the point where my left side of my stomach from like my groin all the way up to like under my breast is in a lot of pain. Like if I twist a certain way, I sit a certain way, I sneeze or I blow my nose, like I will have this sharp pain, like somebody's stabbing me with a knife and just ripping up. And so that's all muscular. Like I've been to the doctor a couple times about it. And so now we need to get the right surgeon who will actually petition my insurance to see if we can get it covered.
Because and from what I heard with some of these tummy tucks, like they do muscle repair and stuff too.
Yeah.
So that would all be part of it.
Yeah, all part of it.
Okay. Well, when the time comes and you go through with it, you're coming back because I want every sordid detail.
Totally. Absolutely.
100%. So of course we're almost out of time and it just went by quickly. Isn't that crazy?
It always does.
But it's your 2-year Surgiversary. So do you have like anything special planned or like an activity to do or like?
I'm going back to school shopping with my kids.
It's so exciting.
We're gonna go because it's also our tax-free weekend. So it's tax-free weekend. So we'll go back to school shopping, and there we love Indian food. So there's this new
Oh,
Indian restaurant that just opened up by our house. So we'll go check them out and see. But not really. I actually have been so sick. I got really sick on Tuesday, and I've been totally in bed. So I'll probably go to bed early, watch a movie, and hang out with my kids. That's my favorite thing to do anyway, hang out with my family. So
I accept that. What I think is that you should find one activity, it doesn't even have to be today, but one activity, whether it's big or small, to just that kind of encompasses the last 2 years. Maybe something you haven't done before, something you've been on the fence about, something that maybe you come across on Groupon. You're like, yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to try.
that's a great idea. I feel like this whole summer was kind of that, but I love that idea. And I'll make my husband go with me because he was so excited. He was so excited. He was not for the surgery at all. He did not want me to do it. And yeah, but after we had lots of conversations and he met with the surgeon and all that kind of stuff, his excitement was for what the future could bring and what it would bring. And so I think it'll have to do the two of us. We'll have to go have an adventure together. That's a beautiful idea. I'm
I love
totally
that
doing it.
idea. So you're gonna do that. I'm just gonna tell you you're gonna do that, and then you're gonna tell me
Yeah,
about it, and then we're gonna talk about it.
I love it. Let's do it.
Okay, yay. So before we go, is like, do you have any like final thoughts or anything that you want to add or any reflections?
I think as I think about my 2 years, and especially because of the pandemic, I know we hate bringing this stupid thing up, but it was so pivotal in this time
Yeah.
that no matter what it takes for people to grab hold of your life, like if you want to re-grab a hold of your life and be who you are, do whatever it takes, pandemic or not, whether people in your life are your pandemic. I mean, how many times do we live for other people? How many times are we doing things for others when we really should be doing for ourselves? Because you can't help others unless you're in a good place. So you really can't. So if you are ready to take control of your life, take it. Hold it by the throat, grab it by the balls, whatever you want to call it, and take your life back. You get one life and it is so worth living. It is so beautiful. There's so many people that you can touch if you take your life back. There are so many people who can influence you if you take your life back. Um, Life is worth living. Grab it and go for it. And if surgery is the way, what a gift. It was the biggest gift in my life, and I am so grateful. So just go for it.
Is number one, and Christine says it perfectly. Amen, sister. And I think if I know people hate talking about the pandemic, but that's like our reality. The biggest thing that I learned in the pandemic is that the one thing that we are always guaranteed in life is change, whether or not we want it, whether or not we ask for it. This pandemic for the last almost 3 years was proven that it didn't matter how much money you had, it didn't matter what your status was, who you were. The rug got pulled out from underneath every single one of us, and we were on an even playing field at that point. And we all had two options. We could have bitched about it and complained and been miserable, or there was people who were like, okay, this is our current situation. How do I adapt to it? How do I change? And how do I navigate my way out of this to come out on the other side? And it was sad that we saw a lot of people fall back into old habits and old patterns and vices. And then there were other people that really seized the moment and took control of it and said, no, this shit's not going to tear me down. And you're right. We only have one chance at this life to live and become the best version of ourselves possible. Is it easy all the time? No. Some days fucking suck. Excuse me. Some days freaking suck or whatever. That's the reality. But you hear stories like you and stories like other people that, we were just everyday people that one day decided enough was enough and we're going to make a decision and we're going to lead by example. And I freaking love you. And like, you're just amazing.
I love you. Seriously, thank you for letting me share my story. It's it makes everything worth it to be able to share with somebody else. Just, just
100%.
whatever. Yeah. And I do have to say, we have one life to live, but you have so many second chances. Second chances never end. And take that second chance every time it comes across. We talk about weight regain. I finally had my first bout of regain. And yeah, we'll have to talk about it another time. But there was this moment where I'm like, okay, I have to reset. And we have been gifted a tool and we just have to use it. No matter where you're at, your tool will work for you. You just work for it. Just work together. It's your best friend. Just do it. And yeah, just what it is. Take that second chance. There's always a second chance around the
Always a
next
second
corner.
chance. I love
Always.
that. And I think that's like the best way to, leave off for today. And like, I seriously, I cannot thank you enough. I'm so proud of you. Like, I don't even know you that long, but just hearing your story and seeing how far you've come, I can't wait. Like, we're just already going to plan August 5th, 2023. You and I are getting together wherever we are.
Good.
Whether or not I have the show, we're just getting together and like, I'll just create a show. If I don't have it by then, I mean, hopefully I do because you guys are going to keep blowing this thing up and it's going to be amazing. But I'm just going to have to keep having you come back. And I love being able to like follow your journey and just see how it continuously and progressively just gets better. So yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Truly, what you're doing is a gift to the world. So thank you. It's awesome.
Stop. Oh my gosh. On that note, thank you guys so much. Christine commented about the time today. Yes, we were an hour earlier than usual. Usually the show's on Wednesdays, but sometimes we do a special episode on Fridays. So on that note, thank you so much to Holly for being here today. Make sure you tune in next week. On Wednesday, we have another very special guest with Amanda. And then next Friday, we also have another special episode where we're doing the Boys Club, where I have three of TikTok's biggest bariatric guys who are on there that are all coming together. And we're going to talk about bariatrics from the boys' perspective, which is going to be really interesting. If you have any additional questions for Holly, if you want to reach out to her and ask questions, send me a comment, send me a message, and then we're going to have her come back because she's going to tell us how she celebrated her 2-year Surgiversary because she's going to find an activity to do. And then she's going to come back. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much and hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend.